Okay, well, very good afternoon to all of you. I'm very pleased to see so many people joining in for the Design for Additive Manufacturing for Education workshop today. I'm very pleased to host today's session, which is actually the second workshop for the DfAM network. I've got a couple of slides just to give you a little bit of a background of the network, as well as a little bit about what's coming on for today. And again, this session will be recorded. So thank you very much for joining. So let's have a look at today's program. As you can see, the program we have packed lots of fantastic speakers, but we understand that having to listen to a long series of talks sometimes may not be the best way. So which is why we have tried to organize a short series of talks, but in particular, we would like you to join us so for what we call the interactive session. And the interactive session will be held at 1340 or halfway point, which is going to be really exciting just to get you to be involved in the whole process. So we can see we'll kick off with the workshop, which we were happy to share a little bit more about what we're going to do today. And then we have Patrick Brunel, who's the coordinator for the DfAM network, and he will go through about the network, the aims and objectives of this network, the purpose of why we have gathered here today for the network. And we have Professor Ellen Bennett, who will give us a keynote speech about key considerations for AM development and its approaches. This keynote speech is going to be something that we can actually use as a theme setter. And then there's Ron Conemaran from the Imperial College. He will give a talk about starting a multi-departmental DfAM elective module. And Michael Mead is giving a talk at 1 o'clock later this afternoon.
Thank you.
About the development of additive manufacturing skills. Okay.
I'll read that. Yeah.
And then I'll get back to us at 1340 for the interactive session by exploring the grand challenges in additive manufacturing for education. At 1440, I've invited Professor Chris Tuck, who coordinates the CDT, or the Center for Doctoral Training in the UK, to tell us more about the cohort-based postgraduate research training program. Sorry, I should go back to the other slide. Okay. And after that, at 3 o'clock, we've invited Professor David Rosen from Georgia Tech to give a talk about perspectives on additive manufacturing education. And Tony Warren from Data, he will give a talk about providing a context for learning. And then we have the last keynote speaker, Adelaide from Almeida, who will give a presentation, which is a keynote on developing the additive manufacturing workforce skills. Okay. And finally, at 1610, we have Martins and Dean, who will provide the results for the DfAM student poster competition. We've also invited Jonathan Rowley and Ajit Panisa to talk a little bit more about future design for additive manufacturing events to keep you hooked into what we are doing. And then obviously I'll give a close summary, and Professor Ellen Brunel will give you a short message to finish off today's workshop. Okay, let's have a look at the next slide. So obviously, we know that attending online sessions can be quite draining. So what we are doing is to have what we call comfort breaks. Okay, we have a bit of a 10-minute break somewhere and one hour after this, and another comfort break at 2:30 in the afternoon, so that you have some time to recover from the interactive session. And we hope to finish that before 5 o'clock this afternoon. Now, if you need to reach out to us, please use the chat box. Me and the organizers will be looking at the chat box. Use that, get in touch with us. If you have questions for the speakers later on in each Q&A presentation, use the chat box, and we can also use that to capture important questions. So just a little bit about me, right? So just a little bit about me. So this is something that I actually produced back 24 years ago when I got started in additive manufacturing. I was very excited about the technology. So this was actually produced back in 1997. And I still have this part, which is actually the casing for a transistor radio. And you can see at that time for additive manufacturing, which we use SLA or VET for depolymerization. At that time, you can still really achieve good detail in terms of, for example, including the antenna feature, the battery housing. You could include the details of the logo, snap fits, things like that. And this was really the introduction to additive manufacturing for me personally, to get me hooked. And since then, I've been very involved in additive manufacturing in terms of doing research and also teaching in the university. So a little bit about me in terms of what I do and where I'm from. So my background, my main focus of research is actually on 4D printing with shape memory materials. And within our research group, with about 6 PhD students focusing on 4D printing with shape memory materials. I've also got an interest in design for additive manufacturing, also about design standards, in particular additive manufacturing design and data standards, and also on functionally graded structures of mixed materials, homogeneous, non-homogeneous, heterogeneous materials, or lattices. These are my 4 main focus areas. So I work in Brunel University as a director of postgraduate research, as well as leading the product design engineering BSc program in the university. I'm also the leader for the additive manufacturing and 4D printing research group. And I'm involved also in journals, for example, the editor-in-chief for Progress in Additive Manufacturing Journal in Springer Nature. I'm involved in standards, so do get involved in standards if you're interested to either come up with a new project or if you like to keep in touch with standards. I'm involved in that in ISO level as well as national level. So I'm the chair for ISO TC261 Working Group 4, which looks into data and design standards at international level, as well as the chair for Additive Manufacturing National Committee, which is AMT8 in the UK. I'm also involved in the Engineering Council's work and a member of the IED, or the Institution of Engineering Designers, as a trustee and also a council member and the chartered engineer and chartered technological product designer. So that gives a little bit of background about me in terms of my background in areas of expertise. And this is just a very pretty picture of the university, which you can see in Brunel, right? The complex is in there, where we're based in the west side of London. And I hope one day when things do get better, you will come and visit us. Within the university, obviously, we do have different colleges. We have 3 colleges which belong to CDEPS, or the College of Engineering, Design and Physical Sciences, which is where I teach, as well as we have 5 institutes. So 2 new institutes, which just recently formed this year, but altogether we do have 5 of them, and I'm part of the Institute of Materials and Manufacturing. So in terms of research projects, just very briefly, I'm involved in 3 European level research projects as the work package leader. The first would be INEX Adam, which is what we call a network of consortium members from 5 institutes. And INEX Adam looks into trying to do knowledge transfer projects, in particular centered around Central Europe. So I've got a website in there. We started about 2018. We hope to finish hopefully by next year. In the center one, which we call SAM, is actually sector scale strategy in additive manufacturing. There's a website in there, and it aims to come up with a AM qualification system at a European level in terms of using skills passports. It's also on the way, we're halfway through, and we hope that you'll be interested in the SAM project. And the last one, which we just recently started, which is called Demo or Die. The Demo project looks into coming up with an open online resource for people who are new to additive manufacturing, in particular for metal extrusion and using polymers. So these are the 3 projects which offers education, qualification, and knowledge exchange at a European level. And to get involved, if you're interested, got the website details in there, or feel free to reach out and contact me. Just very briefly, try and give you some examples of the things that we do in the university. Obviously, some undergraduate projects, for example, Jack's project he did in 2016 was to actually work with the Portland Stone and Quarry Trust. So they've got lots of material that have been discarded because they don't meet building standards in the Isle of Portland. But as a result, they approached us, and in collaboration with an architectural company, we decided to design actually a 3D printer from scratch. So this 3D printer, we actually built it. Almost everything was built from scratch, with the exception of obviously servo motors and the software. We had to actually try and troubleshoot and make improvements to that. So we actually also had to understand the materialology of using paste-based extrusion. Using a material that we got from Portland stone, we had to understand the materialology. Too much moisture, the whole component, the part that's produced will collapse. And too little moisture, the parts will just crack when it dries up. So the material science was very important, apart from building the hardware and the software. The end result was just a very fantastic machine that we have actually achieved through a very simple undergraduate project lasting 7 months from scratch. And it's just some of the things that we do at the undergraduate level, apart from the research projects that me and my team are involved in. What's design for AM? So today we're talking about design for additive manufacturing, and this is going to be something that's big, but we have to understand what design really means to many of us. So design could be something like a simple sketch, a child sketch, but you can see design here refers to the representation or the interpretation of something, how somebody feels about something. And you can see a child sketch, it's not really accurate, right? You don't see the CAD modeling coming through. You can see the proportion of the house or the proportion of the flowers. Doesn't make sense, but this is still part of being able to be creative in design. But likewise, in a more serious tone, if we don't design it correctly, we might be uh, actually looking at the consequences of what we call a lot of waste being produced in a 3D printing process. We talk about sustainability, we talk about design for circular economy. So design becomes the very first important step in the process to get it first time right, so that we minimize the amount of waste being produced and we really get it to be doing the things that we want to. So that's why, to try and find out solutions for design for additive manufacturing, that's where we have the network. And this is where the network for design for additive manufacturing comes in. And it's become a very important part of what we do here in the UK, as well as at the international level. In my last slide, again, very much welcome you to visit us in Brunel. We're only about 20 minutes from Heathrow Airport, as you can see. Or if you've got time to hit to central London, only half an hour to central London. One day when things get much better, please do reach out to us. And I hope to see all of you in person really soon. Okay, that's it from me. And I'll pass my time over to Patrick. And I hope you really enjoy the series of talks that we have created today. I'll catch you later. Thank you.